One day you are crushing your workouts, you're feeling unstoppable, you're hitting high numbers, you're cruising at a good watts, you're beating someone on Swift, maybe you're feeling good in that exercise class, and then the same workout the following day, you feel terrible. Or next week you go in expecting to have those same good results, but you get halfway through and you feel like you've been unplugged, you feel low, you feel tired. And it's frustrating because you've done exactly the same thing. You've been eating well, you've been sleeping well, you've been managing your stress, and you can't quite figure out what's going on and why your energy levels are so unpredictable. Now, I get it, I've been there. So before my postgraduate in sport nutrition, I was struggling with my energy levels too. The consistency in my sessions wasn't there. And then after learning about the sport nutrition practices and then founding Nutrition for Energy and working through these exact problems with clients, I found that it's actually a fairly simple solution. And this is what this short video is going to be teaching you. So obviously it's a big topic, but I'm really going to refine it down to just 2 points. And if you can do these 2 points, so get through this whole video and implement these 2 quite simple points, your energy levels are going to be up in all of your sessions. So whether you train 3 times a week, 5 times a week, whether you want to do 2 sessions a day, if you implement these 2 tips, then your energy levels are going to be up and going to be consistent in each of them. Now, think what you can do with those consistent energy levels. You're actually going to be getting more out of those sessions. You're going to be adapting. You're going to be getting out of that plateau, all of that good stuff. So I'm hoping that by the end of this video, you're no longer going to be frustrated. You're going to have exactly what you need to do to start increasing your energy. So without further ado, let me explain fueling and refueling. This principle is really relating to your muscle glycogen tank. So what that means is your petrol tank. When you go in and you train, if you're training at a high intensity, so your heart rate's going, maybe you can't quite hold a conversation, that sort of intensity, the fuel that is providing the energy there is your muscle glycogen tank, your store of carbohydrate. So when you dip in to that petrol tank in those sessions, what we need to do is we need to refuel from it. And to make sure that we're going into it in a good space, we need to have fueled beforehand. So let's simplify now. I want to try and explain fueling. So whenever you have a session, I want you to consider the meal before. So that doesn't have to be immediately before. It might be a couple of hours, or it might be longer if you're training in the morning and you don't normally have breakfast. The meal before I'm therefore referring to would be dinner. In that meal, the meal before, I want you to aim for 1 gram per kilogram of body weight from carbohydrate. So for example, if you are 50, 60 kilos, it will be 50 or 60 grams of carbohydrate. If you're 70 or 80, it might be 70 or 80 grams of carbohydrate. Now, the reason we work in grams per kilogram body weight is because then it's related to you, the athlete, your weight, your size. Now this number, this 1 gram per kilogram body weight, realistically, this is a minimum that I want you to hit in that meal. So you could have more if you log it. So if you use a tracking device and you think, actually, James, I'm really going to go for this. I'm going to hit this number. I'm going to weigh out my food. I'm going to put it in and I'm going to make sure I'm getting this 1 gram per kilogram body weight. If it's a bit over, I don't want you to restrict. I want you to have this 1 gram as a minimum. So within this fueling structure, the type of carbohydrate here that we're looking for is slow releasing carbohydrate, because we don't want to be going up and down because we've got time between then and our next session. So if it's an evening meal that we're fueling for, let's aim for slow releasing carbs, which are carbs with fiber. So whole grains, this is our brown versions of pasta, bread and rice. This is potatoes, this is mixed grains. If we can build more of those into our diet in a mixed macronutrient form, and long a bit wordy there, if we have protein and fat elements within that meal, as well as the carbohydrate, it's going to really tee us up well from a fueling perspective. So key things: fueling meal, 1 gram per kilogram body weight. If it's a breakfast, so let's say you train more at lunchtime or mid-morning, okay, we want to be aiming for a decent amount of carbs in that breakfast. So check in with yourself. How much carbohydrate are you currently having? If you're someone who doesn't really eat much for breakfast and it's a small bowl of porridge, let's find out how much carbohydrate's in that. If you research that, if you look at the pack and you think, actually 1 serving here says I'm having 20 grams of carbohydrate, my body weight is 60 or 70, actually I'm quite a bit off. This might be why I'm not fueling enough for my training. Make that change, make that tweak. Similarly, training mid-afternoon, lunch is therefore the meal that we want to be putting some carbohydrate in. Roast up some sweet potato the night before, chop it up, add that to whatever lunch you're having if you're taking in a Tupperware. If you're eating out and about, make sure you're going for something with a carbohydrate element in it so that you're getting close to that 1 gram per kilogram. If you do that, you're going to be making sure that your petrol tank isn't that low going into your session. You don't necessarily need it to be 100% full, but just not having it low means you're going to get through your session and feel good. After we do that, we then need to focus on the refuel. And the key bit of information again, let's keep it really, really simple in this video, 1 gram per kilogram body weight from carbohydrate in your refuel meal. That doesn't have to be immediately after if your training is going to be 24 hours or more after. So if you're going to be training though within 24 hours, so maybe you're doing an evening session and then a morning session, I would recommend trying to eat within an hour after training. If that's not the case, you train 3 times a week and you've got a rest day in between, just focus on your next meal after you train, also having that 1 gram per kilogram body weight carb. So, really, really simple here. We're putting carbohydrate into your petrol tank, which is the right energy source for your high intensity exercise the meal before. Afterwards, we're putting petrol back in after you've used it. Now, I often get asked this question because carbs have been demonized a fair bit, but if I'm eating more carbs, aren't I going to put on weight? And the way I'm going to explain it is like this. If we're giving our body what it needs to perform well, to feel good, to recover, then actually what happens is your body starts working in line with your hormones. So instead of feeling really hungry later in the day and actually just raiding everything and eating a lot more food, it suddenly becomes easier to manage all of that. So actually you end up not eating that extra food that you'd have. So we're really just shimmying the food into the right place. And the benefits are you feel good, you have a more productive session. So actually you potentially expend a bit more energy there, you recover better, you feel better, and because you're not craving more of those sweeter, more hyper-palatable foods, your diet quality improves as a byproduct. Give those 2 strategies a go. Fueling 1 gram per kilogram body weight carbohydrate, refueling 1 gram per kilogram body weight carbohydrate. Have those in meals that are mixed in macronutrients, so make sure you are still getting protein and fiber and all that good stuff. But let's just put the lens back on carbohydrate. If you do this, then it's a fairly quick strategy that you can try. Do something tonight, have a different breakfast tomorrow, see how you feel. If you start feeling better, please comment in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you and I'll always get back to you. Also, feel free to subscribe to my channel because I'm going to be constantly putting out content that's in the nutrition space but targeted towards people who train. So it's not just your day-to-day nutrition. We're really going to get specific into sport nutrition strategies to improve performance and improve consistent energy levels.